You know, we all know exactly what it feels like to be triggered. But have we ever really talked about the biological opposite that can actually help us heal? It's called a glimmer. Most of us are, well, very well acquainted with our triggers, right? Vividly, but calm. We know that sudden jolt of electricity through our veins, the way our breath hitches, and that heavy, familiar weight in our chests when the world feels unsafe. It's our nervous system's fire alarm, and for many of us, it's been ringing for a long time. But we are here today because we want to look at the other side of that coin. We want to talk about those tiny, micro moments that signal the exact opposite to our brains. Things like safety, connection, and peace. Think of a glimmer as a small spark in the dark. You see? It's not a massive life event or some huge wave of euphoria. It's something much more subtle. The way the sun filters through the trees, the comforting weight of a warm mug in our hands, or the rhythm of a song that feels, well, like home. These moments are more than just pleasant distractions. They're biological cues that tell our bodies it's okay to let go of that fight or flight response, even if it's just for a few seconds. We carry a lot of weight in our daily lives, and often our brains become experts at scanning for threats. It's a survival mechanism, and we shouldn't judge ourselves for it. I mean, truly. But together, we can start to shift that focus. Throughout our time together, we're going to explore the actual science behind why our brains react this way, and more importantly, how we can begin to reclaim our sense of calm. By the time we finish our journey today, we'll have mastered a tool we like to call the Glimmer Hunt. It's a simple but profound way to rewire our biology, shifting us from a state of constant panic to a state of genuine peace. We aren't just looking for happiness. We're looking for the biological proof that we are safe. So, let's take a deep breath together and step through the sanctuary gate as we dive into the science of how we can teach our brains to feel at home again. To really understand how we move forward together, well, we first have to acknowledge how heavy the weight of the past can be. Many of us live in a state we like to call high alert. It's that subtle, constant hum of anxiety in the background of our lives. Actually, it's a lot like a background app on a smartphone that quietly drains the battery until we're all running on empty. We've become experts at scanning for danger, haven't we? We've been conditioned to check the tone of a text message, the micro-expression on a partner's face, or even the energy of a room before we even say hello. In the world of psychology, we call this hypervigilance. It's our brain's way of trying to protect us. But you see, it comes at a massive cost. When we spend our lives looking for the storm, we lose the ability to actually feel the sun on our skin. We know that feeling all too well, that sense of being a tired soul. It's the feeling of lying in bed at night, physically exhausted, but mentally pacing the floors because we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Firmly but kindly, we've spent so long in survival mode, that our nervous system has actually forgotten what it feels like to just exist. We aren't broken, and we aren't too sensitive, really. We've simply become professional survivors.
Our brains are naturally biased toward the negative because, well, from an evolutionary standpoint, missing a threat was much more dangerous than missing a beautiful sunset. But in our modern world, this survival mechanism has become a prison. We find ourselves stuck in a loop. Our brain scans for danger, finds a potential problem, triggers a stress response, and then uses that stress as proof that we aren't safe. This leads us to a difficult question that many of us struggle with. If our brains are literally wired for survival, if our biological priority is to find what's wrong, is it even possible to feel truly safe without changing every single detail of our lives? Can we actually convince a brain that's been trained by years of stress to let its guard down? Well, the answer lies in a biological breakthrough that most people completely overlook. And it starts with understanding that our brains haven't just forgotten how to feel safe, they've just lost the map to get there.
You know, we often tend to think that peace is something we find only when all our problems are solved. We imagine that once we finally get that promotion, fix our relationship, or clear our schedule, well, we'll finally feel secure. But here's the thing, we're actually looking for the wrong thing. The truth is, safety isn't the absence of a threat, it's the presence of connection. Honestly, our nervous system doesn't need a world without problems to feel calm. It needs a reason to believe it's okay to be here, right now. This is where we introduce the power of what we call glimmers. Think of glimmers as the tiny micro moments that act as a green light for our biology. I mean, it's the way the afternoon sunlight dances across a wall, the comforting warmth of a morning coffee, or just that brief, genuine smile from a stranger. You see, these aren't just small joys. They are direct signals to our ventral vagal nerve, the part of our nervous system responsible for feeling grounded, social, and safe. We don't need a month-long vacation to heal our overstimulated minds, right? We just need to start accumulating these micro moments of safety throughout our day. This is our turning point. We're going to stop looking for big peace, and we're going to start looking for tiny safety. By training ourselves to notice these glimmers, we are effectively teaching our brain that it is safe to come back to the present moment. We are building a new habit of resilience, one small spark at a time. But as we start to hunt for these glimmers, well, we often run into a surprising wall. Why is it that even when things are going well, our brains sometimes refuse to let us enjoy it? Actually, there's a hidden mechanism in our survival brain that views peace as a trap. And if we don't learn how to bypass it, even the brightest glimmers won't be enough to bring us home. So, how do we actually bridge that gap? You know, how do we convince our nervous system that peace isn't a threat, but a destination? We use what we call the Glimmer Protocol. It's a collective practice we can all start today to literally rewire how our brains process safety. It begins with a simple glimmer hunt. Now, we aren't looking for life-changing miracles here, right? We're looking for the small, quiet things. The way the morning light hits a glass of water, the weight of a soft blanket, or even the specific rhythm of a song we love. Our goal is to find just 3 tiny things every day that make us feel, well, even 5% more grounded. It sounds small, I know, but we're training our internal radar to stop scanning for danger and start scanning for ease. But here's the most important part, the part most of us skip. When we find a glimmer, we don't just acknowledge it and move on. We have to feel it. This is where the 20-second rule comes in, you see? We want to pause and let that sensation sink into our physical bodies for at least 20 seconds.
Why 20? Well, because that's the time it takes for a fleeting spark of safety to move from a temporary thought into a lasting cellular memory. We're essentially holding the door open long enough for the piece to actually walk in and unpack its bags. Finally, we name it. By saying the words, "This is a glimmer," out loud, or even just clearly in our minds, we're engaging our prefrontal cortex. We are building new neural pathways that prioritize peace over panic. We're telling our brain, this matters. Save this. This is who we are now.
It feels simple, maybe even too simple, because we've been conditioned to think that healing has to be a monumental struggle. But what happens when we start to see these glimmers everywhere? Does the world actually change, or do we? And more importantly, what do we do when our shadow self tries to pull us back into the familiar comfort of the chaos? Because as we're about to see, the brain has one last trick up its sleeve to keep us playing small. And it's a trap we've all fallen into, more times than we'd like to admit. That pull back toward the familiar chaos, it's really just our brain's way of trying to protect us with the only tools it has, you know? It feels safer to stay in the storm we know than to step into a peace we haven't mastered yet. But we are learning that we don't have to stay in that survival loop forever. The real science of glimmers tells us that while we can't always change the world outside, we have the absolute power to change the way we experience it. We aren't just passive observers of our own lives. We are the architects of our own safety. This is what it means for us to grow together as a community. We're moving away from a life of constant scanning for threats and toward a life where we actively seek out the light. It's a slow process, right? And some days, honestly, some days will feel heavier than others. But we're doing this as a collective, firmly but kindly. We're proving that healing isn't a destination we reach alone. It's a choice we make together every single day, one small signal of safety at a time. Before we go, we'd love to start a chain of micro moments right here in our space. Why don't you share one glimmer you found today in the comments? Maybe it was the way the light hit your morning coffee, a kind word from a stranger, or just the quiet rhythm of your own breath. Your glimmer might be exactly what someone else's nervous system needs to see to spark their own sense of peace today. If this conversation resonated with you and you want to continue this journey of healing with us, well, please subscribe to Psyche Unveiled. We're building a community centered on understanding and growth, and we'd be honored to have you with us. Remember, we aren't just surviving anymore. We are finally, slowly, coming home to ourselves. We'll see you in the next one.